Welcome in. Week 15 edition of Game Theory Thursday. I'm your host, Ben Hostler. I am joined by Sam Sherman. We are here to break down the Week 15 NFL DFS, slates. We have 3 game slate on Saturday, and then a little bit bigger slate on Sunday per usual. And then next week, Sam's going to be really crazy because when we get into Christmas, we've got most of the games getting moved to Saturday, couple games on Christmas. We've got Christmas NBA, so there's a lot. There's a lot going on here. As always, we're gonna shout out our sponsor, OwnersBox Fantasy. If you guys have yet to check it out, you can see on the sidebar there, OwnersBox.online. Promo code Karma gets you a $500 deposit match, free DFS entry. We have free content on the site for OwnersBox. The pricing's a little bit different. You can play Superflex, 2 quarterback, which is nice. Sam has projections specifically for OwnersBox on the website. Travis gives out a cheat sheet in Discord for free. That goes over their lightning lineup pairings and stuff like that for OwnersBox. So we have tons of content for it on the website. Be sure to check it out. Sam, we're going to dive in a little bit to the 3 game slate, and then we'll get to the Sunday slate. How are you feeling this weekend? What's your thoughts on the 2 slates? I mean, Saturday looks weird with the weather and stuff that we were just talking about, but overall,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts this weekend?
Yeah, the 3 game one, I think we do. Honestly, we just said is we have to wait for the weather because I think, a lot of these people on this slate are some of the better players, so they can definitely overcome, bad weather. But it will be hard to get away from, in the dome, Minnesota, who has good players in offense. Their defense is so dust. And so, yeah, I don't know. The 3 game one, I think will be, because I think I speak for you. I like the 3 game slates. I think there's always a lot of leverage and there's always, given like how steamed some guys can get, there's always worthwhile fades that can get you way ahead just by not having one guy. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. The Sunday slate is, ooh, there's there's some players. Yeah, there's some players that are playing and they're overpriced and yeah.
Yeah.
That's we'll get to
I
that.
mean,
Dude, the Sunday one is I'm not like I'm trolling, but I'm like not.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, we'll dive in. So Saturday, I mean, look, there's 3 games. One of them has a 47.5 over under, which is Colts and Vikings, and then you have a 38 over under for the Browns Ravens in what looks to be pretty cold weather in Cleveland, and then you have a Bills Dolphins game that's down to a 44 over under and opened at 47.5. You said you thought there could be some snow coming. I haven't directly checked the weather there yet, but I mean the total is down 3.5 points since it opened. I don't know when this is tracking the opening line from though. So sometimes like it'll pull an opening line from like a few weeks ago when both these teams were like really popping off on offense. Now the Dolphins have had a couple weeks in a row kind of lower in terms of their offensive production. So I don't know when this 47.5 opening line is from, but it is down 3.5 points. So we will see in terms of the weather closer to Saturday. I mean, I think what most people are going to just stack the Indy Minnesota game. You're going to get Kirk Cousins as the highest owned quarterback on the slate. I'm seeing Matt Ryan as the second highest owned quarterback on the slate,
oh my god,
which
come
is
on, what are we
insane. I
doing?
mean, massive
By the way,
chalk.
I just checked the Buffalo weather, and Saturday night is supposed to be snow showers, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds with a
Okay,
high of, I think the high is in the high 20s.
nice.
So Tua
What
might
about wind?
die. Wind is like 10 to 15, so not
Okay.
insane, but Tua is going to be uncomfortable. He might cry.
Yeah, so we'll see kind of the weather later on. So I think most people will be attacking this one game. It is the first game as well, right? At 1 o'clock. So this is going to be very
It's
similar to
brutal.
Thanksgiving, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Exactly what I thought.
Thanksgiving Day, we had pretty much all the chalk concentrated on the Bills and Lions game. So now we're gonna be able to get that early information. Like if this game busts, you can get weird with the later games. If your guys go off, there's different ways to pivot around it. So late swap, I think is gonna be a big thing on Saturday. Is there anyone just directly that sticks out? Because I haven't decided how I'm gonna play that slate yet. With it only being 3 games, like I'm not probably gonna be playing as much cash on it just because it doesn't look like a great slate overall. But is there
Mm-hmm.
anyone like specifically you like? I mean, I think if the Like if the Bills or whatever are going to be lower owned, like I might just play that game, even if it's going to be snowing, and just hope that maybe Indy, Minnesota
Yeah,
doesn't go
I like
nuclear.
going back to I like going back to Singletary because he's been so dust and they have like a 3 back rotation, maybe a 2, whatever, but closer games, the Miami run D is awful. I mean, Singletary, again, like his ceiling is never going to be that of like Jonathan Taylor or these better guys, but I think his floor, given the slate at that price, is not terrible. I know he's had like a couple games of like no points, but okay, but like for instance, I'm not rushing to jam in Nick Chubb. His usage has been kind of weird. Jonathan Taylor is going to be mega chalk, and I get it. That will probably be my one fade. And then, I just want to know who else I want to use because those guys are way better. But I would much rather, I guess, even though not the exact same price, I'd much rather spend up for like Jefferson than, Jonathan Taylor. Like, not even close.
Yeah,
So
I
I
agree
think
with that.
Singletary sticks out, and then Hawkinson sticks out to me too by a lot.
So if you're going to play Jefferson and Kirk, are you going to not Jefferson and Kirk, Jefferson and Hawkinson? Are you going to play Kirk to go along with them?
Yeah, I feel like I almost have to. I mean, if I don't play Kirk, I would probably just take one of the lowest owned. I'd either go like Huntley or Deshaun. Uh, Josh Allen obviously is like the clear option, but if it's actually going to be like snowing and whatever depends on that game, then I don't have as much interest. But I'll probably use Kirk, and then in terms of coming back, Pittman makes the most sense, but he'll be very owned. I mean, Alec Pierce, one of my better showdown ones was that game with Dallas where I think Alec Pierce is like the only one catching balls. So that would probably be for him or Paris Campbell. But yeah, back at Fritz, like, would you, if there's 6 quarterbacks, do you have any interest in Tua or Matt Ryan? Because I don't.
I don't think so. Um,
Definitely not Matt Ryan. I don't care how cheap he is. He's so
yeah,
bad. Like, he's so bad.
yeah, I don't love that. I definitely think like you could, especially if you're playing small field, like you can play Kirk and just
Mm-hmm.
get weird in your other spots. So I do think he is like the clear best option. Again, like we cite this all the time about how good Justin Jefferson is at home. He has 23 career touchdowns. 17 of them have come in Minnesota. So, and he kind of
I
like,
mean, Gil. I
dude,
mean, Gilmore can try to stop him. I
yeah,
guess
no,
he'll do his best.
it's really
But
tough not to want to use him. Hawkinson again, like we love to target tight ends against Indy. So, I mean, I do agree he's the best play when looking at these early projections for the slate. Though, I mean, he is checking in as the highest owned um, tight
yeah,
end, at 5K. But on a 3 gamer, I wouldn't hate maybe playing double tight end on like a 3 game slate.
I was gonna say. I mean, I will say that if Andrews is gonna be like actually not owned, then he's like I think
Mark
still
Andrews
even without Lamar. I
owns
mean,
the
that's
Cleveland Browns. I said this whenever they played earlier this season. I remember being really in on Andrews, and the Ravens played like their worst game of the season. Like they played horribly. I think
oh
Mark Andrews had like
trust me.
zero.
I,
I
I
think
was
Mark
on.
Andrews put up a
He had
zero.
one catch.
Yeah,
I think he had one target or one catch. I
yeah.
remember I was on
But
him
he,
too.
other than that,
Yeah, that
he's
was
owned
awesome.
the Browns. I mean, Huntley feeds him. I think is
That's
a
what I'm
really.
saying. I
I
mean, we
think
didn't really
I'd
see it last
see.
week, and
So
that's
yeah, he's projected for like
I
seventeen
think
percent ownership.
Hawkinson, right? Which on a 3 game slate is like
Hmm.
you have Hawkinson who I think beat the chalkiest, and then Njoku, which I like him too. But if Andrews is going to be the third highest owned, or maybe people punt Knox, I mean that's like because he is a receiver. He's like Travis Kelsey. Like you're getting a receiver in the tight end spot now. Production's not as good with Lamar, but then the only one I do have any interest, and he's been so non-existent all season. But Kareem Hunt, 4,300.
That would be tough for me. I think. Even on a 3 gamer.
I mean, he's just yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't trade him. He just doesn't get used. The only other guy I mentioned is DP Donovan Peoples Jones. I think he's like been really good this year.
Yeah, he's legitimately good. I think.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I
I didn't
like
realize.
Amari. I think,
Oh
is
yeah, I just
a
assumed
good
he'd be
play.
higher owned. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
He's not projecting for super high ownership. I have him at 20%, at least what I'm seeing. So
Yeah, people probably just go
around
Pittman over
20.
him.
He's 6,100, so kind of like a weirder price. because people will want to play Thielen in that good game. He's 52, and even like like a Paris Campbell in the good game as well as 44. So I feel like more people would maybe drop
Mm-hmm.
down from that 6K. But Pierce is
The
the
only,
guy
the
I
only other
really
guy,
like.
yeah, the only other guy that I sorry to cut you, is
No,
I
you're
would
good.
go higher is after Waddle did literally nothing last week, and he's not going to project well in anything. I don't think he's going to be very high owned. I would take a shot on Waddle at like 7,000.
Yeah, I don't mind that. You can always play Jalen Waddle, but
I agree. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, Pierce is my guy on that slate. Not projecting for super high ownership. He doesn't project crazy well, but he is kind of like a deep threat. We've seen Matt Ryan even in their last game threw him a couple deep balls, and we were kind of talking about it last week that the Vikings just give up so many of these like explosive plays in the passing game. They give up long touchdowns. They gave up 2 last week to Chark, and then I mean Jameson Williams was just I don't know if it was a miscommunication or what, but he was just standing wide open and caught a touchdown. So
So
I
funny.
like Alec Pierce at 3,900 is a really really good play. I think.
Yeah, dude, his A dot's like 13 or so. I
Yeah.
mean, this is like a small sample. Man, I was just looking at. I think in 2 of his last 3 games, he's had like almost 50% of the air yards. Now, not
Yep.
to say that Pittman isn't still the number one, but yeah, I agree. I like the Pierce call a lot.
Yeah, we need some value anyway. So I like Pierce. Yeah, I think that does it. I mean, it is what it is. Most people will be stacking up that early game. So, I think if you're playing more than one team, you can play one that's chalkier with like a full stack of that game. Play a lineup with maybe 1 or 2 pieces from that game, and then you can play a lineup with pretty much none of that game, and then late swap later on. But guys that stick out for
Oh,
me, like Cooper
Ben, the last guy.
and
Sorry, I was
Pierce,
gonna
but
say
no, go ahead.
is Raheem Mostert. I would play if Jeff Wilson's out too.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you if he's like out. I just saw an update on him
Yeah,
today, but I forgot to look into it.
yeah. I don't know if he's playing or not, Jeff Wilson, but yeah, I think Mostert
Yeah,
is.
if he's out, 5,300. That could give you some leverage on the Colts guys and J.K. Dobbins, for example, though, because he's 53, so
Mm-hmm.
everyone will play. Like the common person building a team's just gonna plug in Jonathan Taylor and Raheem Mostert and then move on.
Yeah, the Bills D has looked. I don't know,
So
not
maybe
as
we could like go, because I don't want a ton of that game, but maybe either of Dobbins or Andrews and Amari Cooper is like where I'll go in that game.
yeah, yeah.
All right, we will move on. We're gonna go position by position for the Sunday main slate, and then at the end, we'll give out some bold calls, starting at QB. Um, yeah, so I think far and away, you have Mahomes and Jalen Hurts at the top, and then you have Justin Herbert, who's like 1,000 less than salary. Like those are the top options on this slate, right? I think most people
Yeah.
will probably be trying to spend up for a quarterback due to the lack of cheap options, but there are some cheap options I like. One of which is Mike White, assuming he starts. I've played Mike White pretty much every week since he took over as a starter. Had a really, really good game a few weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he started off really slow, but then got there at the end. And he's at home against Detroit, who has kind of like morphed into this pass funnel defense. Like they've been stout against the run the last like
I
4
was gonna
weeks.
say, yep.
So I
And
think
dude,
it's a good
Mike
spot.
White yeah, dude,
He
he
chucks
does
the
so
ball,
many
dude.
dropbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he averages like 45 dropbacks a game.
hmm
Now I know the sample's smaller than, but yeah, but dude, I mean, if people are
No,
wondering, that's like up
he's
there.
averaging
That's around the
almost.
same as like Brady and Herbert. That's
Yeah,
like how much he
he
throws.
averages
Yeah.
uh almost 300 passing yards a game, I think, as a starter. And then bake in that when I'm looking over projections early for the slate, Mac Jones is grading out as like, top 3 value on the
Yeah.
slate. He's projected to be higher owned than Mike White. Like, give me Mike White over Mac Jones like every single time. I don't care who Mac Jones is playing. I don't think the
Dude, I'm
upside.
a huge
We've
Patriots
seen
fan.
legitimate.
We're not showing up. We're not showing up to
Yeah,
dance with Mac
we've
Jones.
seen legitimate 40-point ceiling from Mike White. Like I've actually seen that. He's done it. He's thrown for 400 yards in a game and multiple touchdowns. I don't know if Mac Jones can
I
really do
don't.
that in their
I don't
current
know what
offense.
I don't know what Mac Jones' ceiling is, but I know it's not 40. I know it's not
Yeah.
30 either.
So it's not 30. Mike White, is he going to get 30? No, but like can he? He has done it before. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Dude, not to
I
mention,
like
like, if we
Mike
want to
White
be
over
real
Mac
about
and
it,
I feel good
we want to
about
be
that.
real about it. He has better weapons. Like the
Yeah,
Patriots
that's what I'm saying.
receivers
The
stink.
Patriots are down like receivers, maybe down
Hey,
Stevenson
hey,
as
hey.
well.
Hey,
And
hey, hey. We're gonna win this game.
well, yeah, I mean that very well could happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that
Sorry. I just want to get my fandom in
that
there.
he will.
Ben, I asked you about this early in the week. I didn't care. So I'm shocked that no one wants to play Desmond Ritter. I just
Yeah,
I
why
don't
do you
know
think
why.
that
I'm not
is?
saying no. So I was gonna ask because I'm not as big in college football. I know Desmond Ritter was fine in the preseason,
Hmm.
but I feel like normally when there's like these cheapo QBs that people kind of just like, okay, let's just because he runs, I know, and like I just am curious. I don't know. I'm not saying any way if he's a good or bad play. We have literally no
It
idea.
does.
He's never
It feels
started
like
a game.
anytime this happens, though, everyone wants to play him, but then now no one specifically for whatever
Right.
reason doesn't want Desmond Ritter.
And it's just one of those things where it's like Mac Jones, like even without knowing, are we really going to say like Mac Jones's projection or ceiling is that much better, especially given that Desmond Ritter runs? I don't know. I don't think the Saints D is that good, but I don't
Uh,
know. I just thought that was
I
interesting.
would
But
I would probably play Desmond Ritter over Mac Jones as well
I would, yeah.
if he's going to be a fraction of the ownership, which it appears he's going to be.
I obviously like Herbert. I probably will use him. I think the only if I was going to besides the pay up guys, I mean, I think because of the matchup, I think people kind of just assume that Dallas always just runs all the time, and so Dak I think will be owned, but not super chalk. Um, and then I don't know. I don't know if I can really pull the trigger, but I do think that right back to it, even though the defense is so stout, is like Trevor Lawrence is interesting. I think. I think Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence is, it's a tough one, and it's not I'm not, but just get it out of the way. The matchup is not great, but we've seen last week when he gets going. I mean, he gets going. I mean, I don't know. I just think that he's like one of the only guys I actually think is a decent play who I don't think is going to be owned because like I think all the good plays are going to be owned because they're the good plays.
yeah. So I mean, if you had to pick one of the top guys, because I talked about the middle guys I like, you could sell me on Trevor Lawrence as well. But for tournaments, like I really want to live a Cincy game because I know you were kind of talking about maybe like with potentially Higgins and Boyd out, like that does hurt Burrow a little bit, and then Brady. I mean,
Oh
it's just
yeah,
tough to.
dude.
He's just. I mean, the fact that he's 5,500 and we're
Here's the
not like
problem.
jamming
Here's the
him in is
problem.
crazy.
Right. That's the thing. The problem is that the Bucks have obviously been bad. They look like shit. And the other issue they have is it's like the opposite of what people have with teams that have had a good defense for a while. Since these defenses sucked so bad for a while, people assume they're still like dust, and they're really not. Like their defense is not that bad, especially against the pass. So I don't know. I can't do it. I could maybe go back to like one of those receivers again, lose money, but I honestly hate to say, like, just given the matchup this week, like I kind of would probably prefer Mike White. Like
Dude, I'm with
it's
you, and I can't believe I'm
painful.
saying that.
If I had to pick one up top, does that include like the 7K guys? Or is it just like the Mahomes and Hurts?
Uh, yeah, it includes 7 gig guys as well.
Because I do so even if at the just like 40 plus attempts a game compared to the league average, which is like in the low 30s. It's like people don't even try to run.
Yeah.
So he would probably be my favorite because you're saving money, but him or Mahomes probably.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good. Herbert's probably my number one, but we'll wait and see as we get closer to the weekend. At running back, in terms of guys that we have projected highly right now, in terms of ownership, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, and then both of Zonovan Knight and Latavius Murray in the low 5K tier are projecting to be pretty high owned. Of the spend ups, I think Derrick Henry, I know he's 8K. He might be my favorite, but it's just such a good matchup against a
It's
bad
just
run
insane,
defense. And he kind of
dude.
quieted
And
those
I was reading
concerns.
yesterday.
Go ahead.
Did you see Dontrell Hilliard has already been ruled out? They don't even
Yeah,
have
and
a
he
backup
he
running
kind
back.
of quieted the concerns about his workload last week, and he also ran
Mm-hmm.
super bad last week because he had 100 and
I
like
know,
18
dude.
rushing yards. Like it was
He's two
trending to the
yards in the second
point
half.
of if you don't have him,
A
like there was
slight
no way
breaker.
you could win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
dead.
and then
Yeah.
he just did nothing in the second half. So
But Son of a Knight, I agree, is a really strong cash. But yeah, in tournaments, I'm not playing 25% on Son of a Knight, even though he's looked dope. He's looked sick. Um, I was gonna say, Ben, you're more on him normally than I am. I have literally zero interest in Josh Jacobs versus this New England defense. I actually think their defense is good enough where I have no interest in Josh Jacobs.
I prefer Henry to him pretty clearly.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would do have any interest in Eckler because he's hardly even a running back. Like
Yeah. I do, but I don't think he's like in with them fully healthy at receiver, it's less of a like I feel like I need him for like my cash lineup, but Eckler's always going to be in play for tournaments, I think.
I am a little surprised that Alvin Kamara is seeing this much steam.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, I like the you have Kevin Harris as well. Both Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong are 4K, I believe. So you know that could just be
yeah,
pretty heavy chalk by the time we get the weekend. I really like the Kansas City backs. So I think you can use McKinnon, just absolute legend. 1% owned, brought you and Matt home last week for pretty big pretty big scores, and he's been getting goal like red zone work. So I think McKinnon's fine. I think Pacheco is also fine in this matchup at 5,900. It's pretty much been those two only the last few weeks, and I mean McKinnon's only 52. Like I'm playing Jerick McKinnon over like Zonovan Knight all week this week. It's not even close. I would much rather play McKinnon. So I like the KC backs, and then I was gonna say Miles Sanders against Chicago is my other like tournament one.
Sanders was going to be mine too. He worked out for me in that same lineup last week, but I think he's like equally as good of a play. I don't think he's going to be owned either because Kamara's right there. I like him. I also like going back to I don't know what was going on last week. I clearly was way off my ownership numbers, but Deonta Foreman was like so chalk, like 25% owned in these bigger, like I want to say like in that big $33, which was bizarre, but totally failed. They use all these running backs. I actually would go back to Deonta Foreman just because the Panthers just are obsessed with running the ball. And I think that Foreman has looked better than he did last week. And the Pittsburgh D is good, but I don't think it's an unstoppable force against the run. And it's mainly just I'd be interested in him only just because he'll have like no ownership because Zonovan Knight and Latavius are right there. But I mean, Ben, that's what I was talking about off the top. I mean, this like I don't see any other running back that I think is like solid play.
Yeah. There's other guys, ETN, the Dallas guys. Zeke's actually been getting a lot of work. You could sell me on those guys for tournaments, but I think it's pretty clear right now. I think this is an interesting tournament slate because a lot of the guys that I'm saying I really like aren't looking like they're going to be super high owned. So.
Oh, I know.
That normally doesn't happen. All right, we'll shift over to receiver here. There's obviously the guys that are always in play, right? Jamar Chase, if even one of T. Higgins or Boyd is out, he's a good play. He's 8,300 though. St. Brown, yes, they're on the road, but he's still in play. He's not going to be the must play, in my opinion, that he was the last few weeks with them being on the road, but he is in play. You have Devontae all the way up top at 9K. And then there's just a ton of cheap receivers. So I think overall, Garrett Wilson, once again, for the third week in a row, is going to be the best play at 6K. I like Mike White, so I'm going to play Mike White. I'm going to play Garrett Wilson. And I also like Elijah Moore. So with the Patriots' injuries at receiver, we're seeing...
Dude, let's go. There we are.
We're seeing Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne like really popping. I like Elijah Moore over both those Patriots guys, and I'm gonna run Mike White with Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore in tournaments. And Elijah Moore is good. The usage is way up, and like we've said, Detroit kind of like a pass funnel at this point. And you can stack Mike White, Garrett Wilson, and Elijah Moore for like not even 13K, 14K in salary, and then you can play whoever else you want around them.
I like that. Um, my one thing is that, oh my God, please do not. I mean, it'll burn me now that I say this, but do not play Chris Moore in tournaments with other chalk. I mean, he's
Anyone
like an
that plays
obvious
Chris
cash
Moore over
saver.
Elijah Moore's just not good.
I mean, and also that would be my other caution is I would really recommend people not stacking unless you want to make the rest of the line. I think some sort of build will get popular of like the Herbert double with the Henry bring back, which also brings me to my point of my question of it's interesting that Keenan is like really chalk, and then you have Mike Williams who's like not getting owned after his big game last week.
Dude, again, love Mike Williams. Love Chris Godwin. He's projected under 10% ownership. Literally everyone I like on this slate is not projected for like any ownership other than Garrett Wilson and Derrick Henry. That's the only two guys that I've been like, okay, I really like these guys, and they're popping for a ton of ownership. Like this is gonna be a weird week for me.
Can I interest you in Mike Evans, who's gonna be unowned because he stinks because Bucks stink?
I think I like Godwin more, but yeah. I mean, you could play Mike Evans. You could play Mike Evans. If Godwin was going to be one of the highest owned, and then Mike Evans was going to be unowned, I would say yes. But since it doesn't appear Godwin's going to be super high owned right now, I would just lean Godwin.
And how does this sit with you? What about a little Desmond Ridder, Drake London, Alvin Kamara?
Yeah, I don't think you need to stack Ridder, but if I was going it would obviously be with Drake London. So
that's crazy. What was that guy I was going to say? I just do we think Pickett is starting or Trubisky? I know it's a weird question to have matter.
I think I would lean right now that Pickett's probably not going to play, but I have no idea.
Because like I think Deontay Johnson was like starting to get fed again with Mitch back in there. 5,100. He's been dust all year. I got some interest.
Yeah. I just saw DJ Moore on here, and I didn't want to trigger you, but it just made me laugh.
Oh, my God, dude. If anyone's wondering, last week I had a lineup that finished in like the top 30 of most contests, and it was with DJ Moore getting 0.6. How do you get 0.6? I was like, oh, my God. The problem was I couldn't bitch as much as I wanted to because I obviously ran unreal hot with McKinnon dropping a 30 bomb, and then I also had Miles Sanders. Like I had a lot of plays that worked out.
Isn't it great when you have multiple sub 5% owned players absolutely go ham and you still can't ship? It's just like,
dude, I was like, if I told you if I unfortunately went back. If I had played Judy, I think I would have won like $92,000.
Yeah.
Now that's all hindsight because I was never gonna play Judy. But I'm just saying,
but DJ Moore could have at least got you like 15 points or something.
Maybe just drop like 7 points. That would have
been. You weren't asking for a ceiling game, you know.
I was not asking for a ceiling.
Asking for a couple catches and some yards.
Yeah, that kind of. Oh, the only other person I would ask you about is, do you have interest in CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, I was going to mention him. Fine in cash, fine in tournaments. If you want to mini him with someone. I don't know if I'll play him in cash because I haven't tried to build any teams, but I think he's fine at 73. It's going to depend. Look, I'm going to tell you what. I came on this video with you, and I was like, this slate kind of sucks. But the more I look at it, literally everyone that I had written down, everyone that I like is going to be low owned. So this is going to be the best week ever. Like, even if I lose, I'll be bummed. But, like, I never get weeks where, like, because even a few weeks ago I had that one big week. Like it was with a pretty chalky team with like a couple low owned guys. Like I never have these weeks where all the guys I feel strongly about are going to be low owned.
Yeah, I mean, I just have so few winning weeks. You know, I'm just trying to just be positive. You know, last week was just such a border. The only guy I was going to say is that This game is ugly, and I know Kyler's out, but also is that really a loss? Marquise Brown at 55 is really cheap. Dude, Colt
Yeah,
McCoy is
we've
not like
seen him.
great,
We've
but
seen
he's
him
not like
play fine
terrible.
in Murray's absence. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm just saying that's really cheap for a guy who can have a ton of
yeah,
targets.
yeah. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
He's cheaper than yeah.
All right, tight end. I
Oh
mean,
my god.
can we just for one time see? This is what happens. Anyone on here, like anyone that reads my content, knows I was all in on Chigakonkwo last week. And these are the weeks that we really crush when like you have like extreme conviction on one player and we all like me, you and Matt, we all play him. And then I have extreme conviction on one player, we all play him. Like those are the weeks we crush. That's what happened last week. I convinced you guys all to play Chig. He went off.
Mm-hmm.
Matt was on McKinnon. He went off. So
Who was I on? Jamar.
yeah, you
Um,
were on a couple people.
yeah, dude. I mean, tight end is. I mean, let's just get out of the way. I mean, it's Kelsey, it's Dalton Schultz, and it's Chig. So just base. I mean, and Dulcich again, dude. How many times can we fall for this Dulcich? I did too. Like I'm also been falling for it, but how many times are we gonna do this with Dulcich? Clearly, it's just not working.
Yeah, there's just nothing. There's nothing more annoying than that.
Um, I legitimately can tell you I have interest in Travis Kelsey, Schultz, um, boy, Chig. I mean, you and Matt always troll me, but we all know I spot talent way early. I mean, Jordan Akins is ready. He's ready.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the audio on the
He's ready to
video.
score 6 points.
I'm not sure if
He's
the
ready.
audio on the video just cut out for like a couple seconds. So if you guys are, there was like a lag or something. We're just talking about tight ends. We're talking about how I was on Chig a ton last week, and Matt was on McKinnon, and Sam was on like Jamar, and we combined. And that's why we all had such a good week. So overall, yeah, agree on Dulcich. It's just annoying because it's like Arizona's like it's like one of the nut matchups for tight end. So it's like I'm sick of playing Greg Dulcich
And he keeps failing.
and he
Keeps
keeps not
failing.
doing
Yeah.
anything, and then now he just gets once again one of these like elite matchups. So I think
It's a Jordan
Dulcich is
Akins week.
fine.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Sam likes Jordan Akins. If Burks is out, I'm fine with Chig in cash. Maybe don't want to chase that in tournaments.
Oh, I'm
Um,
chasing. Because, dude,
okay,
I
well,
think
I
the
mean, I
stacking
love
that
him
game
anyways,
with Chig
so
instead of, but I'm just saying
yeah,
stacking that game with him instead of Henry, I think is interesting.
yeah, for sure. He's definitely a play. It's $3,100. Like, can he really hurt you that bad? So
I will also say people who do play Mac Jones, I would play Hunter Henry with him
yes, yeah, I'm fine. I played Hunter
instead
Henry
of
in like showdown, and like he did
me
good, but of
too.
course every other person on my team got hurt, so it didn't matter regardless.
Yeah, it's tough when your captain gets like a 2. That was a tough
Yeah,
one
I
for
mean
me.
that was disastrous.
Um, dude,
Um,
tight end this week is like,
are you
oh my
chasing the
god,
Evan Ingram 50 pointer?
I'm not.
I'm not going to do that either.
Evan Ingram, I think people forget that Evan Ingram is like bad. Like he's
Yeah,
played well, but
that was insane.
he's not
Okay, so
he's not
Kelsey,
very
great
good.
tournament play. Chig and play for cash. Greg and play for cash. Sam likes Akins. Hunter Henry. Other than that, I'm not seeing a ton of tight end here.
I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, the only thing is if like Cameron Brate gets ruled out again, Kate Otten at least
Yeah,
runs a good amount of
I'm actually
routes.
in on if Brait's out. I'm actually in on probably Kate Otten because
Yeah,
I don't love any of the other cheap guys. So I'm
yeah,
definitely in
dude.
on
I mean,
that.
this tight end is wasteland.
Yeah, this is bad. This is bad. This is a really bad tight end week. This is really bad. But
And I have Travis Kelsey projected for 20.3 points, and the next highest guy I have is Dalton Schultz at 11
yeah,
points.
it's bad. So do you think that
That's
do you think people will over own Kelsey because of the lack of tight end
yes.
options, or do you think it'll be like a
I
normal week
think
where just people just don't play Kelsey because he's $700-800 at tight end?
I am convinced this week they're going to play him because, especially if people play like Mac Jones in cash, which would be hilarious, I think he'll definitely be used. Like, I mean, if I had to guess from what I have right now, I would say between Kelsey and Schultz, between 35 to 40% owned. And if you add in Dulcich and Chig, I would say it's probably around like 65 to 70 will be those 4 guys.
Yeah.
my point of that is if you play literally anyone else, and we know how random tight end is, you'll probably have
Yeah.
some positive ownership outcomes there.
All right. I mean, we covered every position pretty well. We're going to give out some bold calls before we get off. I think overall for me for this slate, like I kind of talked about throughout the video, a lot of the plays I like are going to be low owned. I think, Herbert's probably my top overall quarterback for cash, but you have Mahomes and Hurts right there. I think it's a spend up at QB week in cash games. And then tournaments, I like Mike White again a lot. I like taking a chance on Desmond Ritter before anybody, taking advantage of that stuff before anyone can actually see it is a really big edge. So I don't see how it hurts to just throw him in a team if you're making, more than a couple teams. And yeah, how are you playing this slate, Sam? And then give me like your bowl call, and then I'll give my bowl call after that.
Yeah, I mean, stacks wise, I agree. I think it's one of those things where it depends how you stack them. Like I was saying about like what I think the chalk stack will be with Herbert. I mean, I don't really want to use Everett, but like using someone like him or Eckler, I think will make you different. But I think doing something with like the Dallas passing attack, or like you said with Ritter and getting these like more expensive guys that are not part of a stack, I think is one of the best ways to get different and still have positive. I think Ben, I think this week with so many, especially like at tight end, with a lot of these plays that are or positions are so thin, I think it's definitely a week, not in cash, but outside of it, to feel free to definitely get different because like a 4,200 Chris Moore at 23% owned. I mean, that's just, what are we doing? Like that's an immediate leverage on someone like that. So that's my take. My bold call is that Mike Williams and Mike Evans, both Mikes, score twice each.
Good. I love the Mike Williams one. I was gonna make that one of mine, so I'm glad you did it. I think that's a good one. I'll go with Mike White throws for 400 yards again, even in cold weather.
Man.
Has he done it twice or one? Was he really close one time?
I think it was like, yeah, I think it was close one time. Like
Okay, well the time he was close this year, it was literally like pouring rain. It's freezing. Like it was no reason for him to do that. So I have zero qualms about any weather, and I don't think they're gonna be able
also,
to run
dude,
the ball.
this guy fights. This guy fights for your money. He was coming
He
in back
does.
in the
He
game.
came back in. He came back in twice last week. How could you not want to play Mike
He
White?
wants you to, because yeah, he wants you to